things that I did not name as such, it's quite all right. Whatever the one assigned to look after things for me since I lost Brat 3 years ago, November 11th, was the date that he passed. Not this year, 3 years ago. Okay? And all of the things that I had belonging to Brack's family, I'm giving back to them, or sending it back through some means, a channel, to his family. And my things that were from my family, or that I bought myself, I am doing as I choose. Again, the 13 daughters of Judith, one of them being my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother produced almost as many children as a mother. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of her own. This was 13 to 7. And look at Lila. Lila had a lot of children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Aunt Judy. 7. Very healthy people in reproducing. Now, I wish to begin the next chart with Lucy and work with that family until I have the same kind of information for them, because it's utterly impossible to put all of this on one tree.
That is.
So what we will do is to work with Lucy's. And remember my talking to you so much about Marion?
Yes.
Well, Marion left us this year. But I had gotten everything possible. I have some work that's taped up, like 25 pages of work that was done in conversation with her. That was a wise move. I'm very, very proud of it.
These old people will slip away.
They are young ones too, but you'd better believe the old must go,
yeah,
and the young may go. So anything that I can do to make life simpler for my relatives, I shall do it. And I have done it in love. And if I make mistakes, and you in your tracing of history and family trees and the like, you find and prove, now not by word of mouth, by documentation, where I am wrong, it will be changed by law. Otherwise, I have documents to prove what I'm saying. And therefore, as far as I know, it's legal. And if it isn't, I have a lawyer who is known as Mr. John E. Hall is one. Miss Beth Young is 2. Mr. Dennis Joyce is 3. And I have a lot of other people who will come in if there's any need. But those 3 ought to be able to handle what little I have. Okay?
Mm-hmm. All right. Are we wrapping this up today?
I hate to wrap it up.
I do too. I'd like you to, if you don't mind, or if you feel like it'd be all right, to go into some depth on some of these. If anything for history now, don't get me wrong, we're not prying. It's just, if anything that you can tell me for the future, it would be appreciated. We're not after sensationalism. What we're after is documentation and facts,
history,
and tell it just like it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like that you would like to tell me some things.
There are things about families that are always kept nailed in, closed in, what have you. But I don't have much choice when it comes to me. And tell you one thing that was very, very important in these days. In the beginning, now you know the story of Adam and Eve, and I'm not questioning the Bible. I simply read and believe how man came to be. Sometimes when we bring it closer home or closer to us, we find that there was intermingling in families. And I have no qualms with who's the father of whom. I simply know that everybody has a daddy and a mama somewhere. That's a fact. It took two. And when there was such a small grouping and slave life, from what I was told by my grandparents, was so different from what I live now today. Therefore, it's important that I find out as much as I can about how closely related I am to any of my people. What is the relationship? And it just so happens that I can use myself as an example. You see this sister named Sue?
Mm-hmm.
Sue had a daughter named Ellen, and Ellen had a daughter named Josephine. I don't have the opposite chart to show you of Eliza, but Eliza is the sister to my great-grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear?
Oh, yeah, I got it. Uh-huh.
And Eliza's son is my father, my natural father,
Okay.
not adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this means that we are related. Sue and Eliza were sisters, and this Eliza's son and Sue's granddaughter produced a child, and I'm it.
Okay.
Very simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am. I definitely understand.
Well, it was not produced by the Sue. When I make this chart of Eliza, and it will show that Eliza also married a Barber from that other slave master's family,
Right. Mm-hmm.
that made him a brother to Frank.
Uh-huh.
John was his name. John Barber and Frank Barber were brothers, marrying sisters. Gets a little messy.
Well,
But look, these are not the same Barbers. There are two sets of them.
it may sound until you get into it.
It sounds until you get into it that they are marrying the first cousins, but they aren't. This is a family over there, except you pull Liza back over here on this side. She was this lady's child.
Yeah.
But he that she married did not belong to her. Now, you can untangle it, folks, if you want to. It suits me fine. I'm just telling you like it was. No, then the thing that was so neat that I really like about it, that set of Barbers that belonged to Frank, when I get this other chart and carry it on down there and let you see how it looks, I'm really going to do it. I'm going to have a whole wall full like that. And don't have anything to do but just look up here and say, well, now, you don't mean that. Yes, I do mean it, and I can prove it. My husband, Brack, belonged to one of those sisters down here with this side of the family, and I married Brack. I guess I lost you. But there was another set of Barbers, and his mother was named Ida Barber Grinton, or Ida Mary and her mother's father, Cowens. Her daddy and mother were slaves, and they were named Cowans, Cowens. Let me give you that little bit in order to give a little history here of Frank. Let you know Frank was must have had a very displaced life, and it must have made him, what slavery did to people. It had to, because we've lived through some experiences that have been pretty rough. but they must have caught hell. I'm sorry about all you good folks who don't believe in hell, but that's the way I said it. Okay? Then you take Frank, Frank's mother, and Frank's father was a Cowan, C-O-W-A-N-S, and this Mr. Barber, who lived in Wilkesboro, who bought my mammy, went to another slave market and bought his slaves. So he brought his back to Wilkesboro. In the meantime, when he bought this black man, the black man said to this new master, "Master, so Ida told me, will you buy that woman for me?" And he looked at the woman and he told him yes. So when she was put on the stump, whatever you call those things,
Slave block.
block. I think it's a block instead of a stump.
They call it the block.
Well, thank you. Sometimes you forget what you want to forget.
Yeah.
So they put her there, and this brother to my master, slave master, bought her for Frank's daddy. And they left. But the slave man did not tell the master, "I've got a boy over there who is about 12 years old. I've got a boy over there." And he didn't tell him, and he left him. They drove away and left that boy. He was younger than 12. That's right. He left him. And guess what he did? He, all of the children were slaves if the parents were slaves.
Yeah.
When his daddy left, he knew, he'd heard that this is the man from Wilkes County. He lives in Wilkes County. So he decided to run away from Salisbury. He ran away from Salisbury and walked all the way to Wilkes County and found his daddy. Isn't that some story?
That is some story.
He found him. Therefore, his stepmother was Mary. So, Alfred was his father's name. Somebody needs to write that down. You see, Alfred was Frank's son. This boy ran away and came to Wilkesboro and found his father, Frank.
Okay.
All right? Look here what he named his son. Look at this.
Alfred.
He named his own son Alfred after his daddy. Okay. When, therefore, the children that were born to Mary and Alfred Cowan's Barber were slaves. And one of their children was named Ida, and the other was named Leela, and there were several others that I cannot name for you just now, but I know one who's doing a pretty good job looking it up. That's Mom Ida's great-grandchild, or grandchild, okay? She's looking up that part of the history. Well, Frank came and married Sue, one of the girls belonging to the other master. You know, this plantation could have been 10 miles or 20 miles away from here. Who knows? Up this way. But this Barber bunch that I'm talking about are down here in the present day Rain Sturdivant Funeral Hill. Funeral home.
Yeah.
All of that. And all of this land up through here belonged to Mr. Barber, the master. He was a great landowner. And he did well tending it. But guess what mistake he made? I got to tell this so that they can pass it along on their side if they ever hear this. And if they do, it suits me fine. He came up here on this hill and walked off land, and he walked and counted footsteps, you know. That was so many feet. You measuring the foot. And he said, "This is for you, John." That was one of the sons of Mary. He gave some land right up the road here.
Is that the John that's in red down there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, that's
No.
right.
This would be in the same place as my mother.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That land was given to.
John is a son of Lila. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead.
That's right, John. This is the son of Lila, who is the daughter. Lila's the daughter of Sue. Well, he gave her children some land, and he gave her children some land because she was married to Frank.
Mm-hmm.
He gave land, and Alfred got some of it, and Ellen got some of it. These are Sue's, and he. I don't know what happened with Aunt Laura's part, but he walked off land now and gave to those boys so that they could build them huts or cabins. And I know one that belongs in, he gave this one land too. One that belongs in, see that name right there, Aaron?
Mm-hmm.
He's still alive, and he remembers the master of Judith. That's the truth. I can call him right now, and he'll tell you, when I was a little boy, like 2 or 4 years old, the master would come riding up on this brown, like that chestnut they call it,
mm-hmm.
you know, mare or whatever the horse was. And he would give him a nickel. He remembers that today. And the next time I get a chance, I want you to talk to him, because he remembers the master who owned her. He was a little fella.
I just left to sit and listen to him.
Well, I can get my hands on him.
All right.
Yes, sir. His name's Aaron. And Aaron Barber is the son of Nathan.
Okay.
All right. And she is older than Aaron. That's the sister of Aaron and the daughter of Nathan. But she will remember, she used to teach school. She taught school for years. And by the way, that one taught school for years and has retired. I think she did too. This Ethel, and Ethel had, Ethel had 8 children. This daughter of Nathan had 8 children, but I just didn't get them listed as names because I had done enough work. I thought they could pick up and fill in for me.
Yeah. That'll help them learn too, is to help you
Right.
fill it in.
Listen to this part.
Okay.
When Aunt Lily, by the way, Ellen and Lily and Lila and Judy were all excellent laundresses. This lady, Aunt Lily, had a huge iron pot that would be as large around. The diameter would go from here to that chair. It was so large, and she had it in a shed, and it was built up in mud. You know, like cement, like you would have made a cement base. It was built up in mud, and it stayed there, and you dipped the water out. And then over on the side, and I'll take you right to the spot where this was, over to the side, she had tables, you know, that were covered with old clothing, and she kept them. That was the ironing. And you'd put those irons down there where that pot was, those flat irons.
Mm-hmm.
Not that kind. It's a flat, smoothing iron.
Mm-hmm.
And you would smell the pine top. Green pine with twigs, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You'd pull these things off and take that iron out of the ashes and brush it, and then rub it like that on that pine top. Just keep rubbing it like that, and then there was a pile of salt. Then you would slip it into the salt and rub it back and forth like that, and it would come very slick, and it was clean. Now you go iron. And when you'd walk in that door back there, you would get this odor of pine wax. It was a strange kind of odor, but I never can get rid of it. I know it today. If I had an iron and could heat it, I would show you or let you try. It's a very strange smell. And it even gave the clothes a clean smell, because somehow that odor from that heat somehow stayed in that with that iron. And these things would iron in smoothly. You made the starch. You didn't buy any starch. You didn't have any starch to buy. You made it from flour. Best way to make starch, friend. Sometimes you need to know how to make some starch now. You might need something one day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody makes any starch. That has no starch in it. They have the stiff cloth. But you put your flour in here and stir it very slowly with water. Just a little water in so much flour at one time to keep the knots from getting in it. And then when it became almost to a ball, you begin beating it, and make it smooth. Now you add more water, cold water, and stir it until it got completely free, and now it looks like milk. You got your pot over here that's boiling like mad with water. So you pour this thin mixture into that and stir real fast, and it would get thick, smooth starch. Didn't have those knots in there. If you made a batch of starch and had knots in it, boy, they'd give you a fit. You learn to make the starch for the things. Over in the log house, I had a sharp pointed iron, and you told me, said, turn it around, Lib. Turn it around so I can see that point. And I did. The point's about like that. And it's no wider than that, the whole iron. Not that wide. And then it goes into a point. Well, that was to do Mr. Barber's white ruffled shirts. I wonder if he wore ruffled shirts on Monday.
Well, I wonder too.
I wonder. But
definitely
that was a special iron, and it snapped, unfastened. You know, it had a snap on, and I told you about what I gave that. Okay?
All right. Now, let's go back here to Lily. You said you was going to tell me something about her.
Aunt Lily was the one with that huge pot.
Right.
And she was one of the best laundresses you'd ever find. Excellent. All of these ladies handled shirts. You starched sheets. You starched pillowcases. You starched ruffled underclothing. Everything was starched. Now, my mother Ellen taught these girls to do all of those things. We all worked as domestics and didn't ever fail to get a job because we knew how to iron, churn, wash, clean. We did these things. I'm the worst housekeeper now than I've ever been in my life because age does something to you. You people who are young, for heaven's sake, keep your houses straight and clean because when you get old, you could care less.
That's for sure.
You don't, look, I like to see it pretty. Yeah. But the best time of life is to use youth what it's for.
Yeah.
Okay, my God, I have walked to work, worked a half a day, walked back home, draw water out of a well, carry it and put it in my pot, walk back to work, finish my dinner for the white people, and come back home and wash my clothes. All in a day. You didn't even believe me, but I told you.
I know, and now I feel like it's a good time for you to tell me why you love to buy every pair of shoes you see. Don't you think it'd be a good time to tell me that? Why you love to buy or want to buy every pair of shoes you see?
They did pretty well buying shoes for me, you know, I guess when I was little. I know every time I get a pair that nothing could get on it, I'd rub that fella and shine him. And then when I would outgrow the shoe, I was just so selfish with that. I didn't want my little cousins to get them because, see, some of my little cousins, there were so many of them, I was only one. You know Josephine right there? Josephine had one child, and that's me.
Right.
So everything was mine. And I wanted to keep it. And I do believe, Bob, that I have a little costume that I wore in a play in the first grade in school. First grade. I think I still have it. I think it's wrapped up neatly somewhere. I hope I can find it. And it was ruffled paper. You know, they put that paper around there. The teachers would. Yeah. And you'd be a little angel or whatever it was, and I was a little devil. But I got to play the role of the angel. Well, anyway, I saved I wanted to keep all of my papers, all of my books, everything I had. I wanted to keep it. And my mother would give it away. She'd love to, and I'd cry. Came on up through the years. You know, we lived all right. I didn't know how poor we were because I was loved so much. My mother loved me. I was a child that would reach out to people. I was, you know, I'd go, you let one get in trouble now and somebody's picking on somebody. They had me to fight.
Right.
See, I would take up for them. I have thrown many a rock. Boy, I was terrible with that rock. I almost killed my mama's rooster. Take this thing and point. You point first, kids, if you want to get good. Point at it and throw that rock, and the thing would zoom to the air. And the poor rooster said, floppity, floppity, flop. And I said, oh, Jesus, please, Jesus, don't let mama's rooster die. I did. Don't let mama's rooster die, because he was down there scratching up the beans. And she told me to keep him out the field, and I told him to get out 4 or 5 times, and he keep coming back, so I threw at him and like to kill him. Yeah. He stayed out then, but he didn't die. Yeah. You know, let me tell you, our lady's dog kept coming in my yard, and I had a stick of wood about that long, and it was oak. And I did like this, and Brack said, don't do that. Don't throw that stick at that dog. I took the thing, and he kept moving. I said, boom, it went through the air. Dear God Almighty, what do you think happened?
You killed that.
No, he fell over like an oak tree. Bam, he hit. And I said, oh, Jesus, Brack, I killed. Brack said, damn, I told you not to do that. He did. But, you know, that dog got up and wobbled down to the field, and he went sideways. Oh, you don't know how thankful I am, Master, today even, that dog didn't die from that stick of wood.
He didn't come back, though, did he?
No! Hey, Bob, he didn't come back, and that rooster didn't go back in the bean patch either. But I was just a tomboy. Yeah. I really was, you know, fight. It was just fun. But now, even this day, I have a hard time resisting buying a pair of shoes.